Hello everyone. Today we have with us on board Mr. Vikas Prasanna, who has completed MSc in Digital Innovation from UCD and is now presently working full-time in Dublin. Hi Vikas, how are you?
Hey Vinny, I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I'm good as well. I hope that you are keeping well in this circumstance.
Yep, keeping
Graduating
good.
is the most important moment for a student. And the second most important is obviously to make a successful career out of it. Vikas, can you please tell our students how did UCD help you in getting a job after you completed your studies?
So it's kind of a two-part process. When you join UCD at the very beginning, there will be an orientation process wherein UCD will introduce you to something called Career and Placements Office.
Mm-hmm.
So in Smurfit, we were introduced to something like that, and we were asked to make our resumes and cover letters, write our own cover letters, and walk into the center, get an appointment, and sit with an expert and talk to them for about 30 minutes. So obviously, the whole environment was new to me, so I did that, and I took an appointment, and I sat with an expert where they went through the different parts of my resume. And uh, the good thing that I liked about what they were saying were, I can probably put it in two ways. So first thing was, um, when I was telling them that my prior experience was going to be different to what I would look for in the future, then they asked me to change a few sentences that would kind of build a bridge between my previous and my future job. So that was
Right.
one thing that that was very beneficial for me in that perspective. And the other one was, because I had only worked for 1 year in India before I moved to Ireland. In India, it is a pretty common thing to have all your marital status, your address, your parents names and all that, at least from the place that I come from. So that was they asked me to take that off as well, that whole section, because nobody checks marital status in Ireland if they have to hire you. Probably that's a cultural thing in India that happens.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
in those two ways, it was beneficial to get their input and feedback. And along with that, obviously, the placements office does conduct career fairs, and they once you go in, you'll also find so many brochures in the office that you will probably not find in college. So it's if you specifically walk into a career center and just have a chat with them and then just see what career fairs happen in Ireland, then you'll get an idea of how many companies actually exist in Ireland, and as a result of it, how many companies do come to different career fairs for exposure. So obviously they're trying to market themselves, and you're going in there to see what are the different companies out here, and what are your opportunities as a result of it.
Right. Right. I understand that. Another thing is, right now, with which company are you working with presently?
Yeah, so I work with a company called Optum Technology. It's a
Mm-hmm.
technology wing of another conglomerate called United Health Group. So we are a health insurance company, or a health company, primarily doing business in the US.
All right. And can you take me to the interview process? How did you get this job? How was the whole process like, so that students can
Yeah,
get some help from it?
yeah, sure. So the reason why I took up digital innovation in the very beginning was because I wanted to kind of catapult my career from being a DevOps engineer, which is kind of in the core software world, to getting a business analyst job, which is also within the software world. So, it was going to be a huge kind of it's probably like two different roads, right? So if you are getting into a DevOps role, it's pure technical, and when you're getting into
Right.
a business analyst role, it's going to be part business, part technical. So it was a
Right.
huge jump for me, which was not possible. So I chose digital innovation so that I could make that change by understanding different business, by understanding the business language, by understanding business concepts, and so on. I wanted to use my course to help me catapult my career on the other side. So when I started looking for jobs, obviously I had only 1 year of work experience, and I had no experience in business analysis or project management, and which was the area that I was looking for a job in. So I was forced to kind of apply because of these limitations to graduate roles. So when I started applying, obviously I applied to a number of different companies, and you know, uh, the process went on. I think after I came to Ireland in September, typically students should start applying from October. And the processes in different companies can vary. Some companies are very quick to pick your resume and call you and then, finish the whole recruitment process in a couple of weeks. But some recruiters, take a really, really long time. Like for example, my company. So I applied for my company probably in October, and I got a chance to interview with them in March, which is about almost 6 months long, right? And that is still the process today because 3 years almost in the company today. I've recruited for graduates myself now for my team. So, I'm able to see, why it takes such a long time because, they're just waiting for applications to fill in, and then the recruiters take their own time to go through the CV one after the other. Apparently, many people believe that it goes through a system, but in our company, all resumes are screened actually by recruiters themselves. So there's no software screening that's done. Every resume is being viewed by a recruiter behind, and that's how we kind of filter candidates. So probably I'll give you today's scenario. So this year, Optum changed its strategy of hiring. So the first round was a video interview where people were generally asked to introduce themselves and maybe they were asked a few questions around why healthcare and their passion in technology. That was the first round, and then the second round was called a Codility test. So since people applying for our company, I mean, the graduate roles are open only for software engineering, cybersecurity engineering, and network engineering, because they're all engineering streams, core engineering streams. There's a technical test that's involved, and that's called a Codility test, where students are asked to code for 3 different questions, and then depending on the result, the resume moves on to the next round, which is the final round. So the final round this year had to be like a group discussion, wherein a scenario would be given to a bunch of students, and there are different people. They're obviously asked to discuss how to tackle the situation, and there will be people like us who will be just monitoring and just looking at how students' responses are, followed by which will be a 2-on-1 interview where there will be one business person, one technical person sitting from the company side who will be interviewing a student. But because of COVID-19, we had to take off the group discussion process, and we made everything a virtual process. Mm-hmm. So by virtual process, I mean, it was a simple web call with the student where 2 of us were having a chat with the student for about 45 minutes to an hour, and thus making it their final round. So, it's not, when you talk about graduate recruitment, one thing that I'd like to stress about is it's not going to be heavily technical. The expectation from the recruitment side will be only basics from the students' end. We don't expect students to have a lot of experience in work areas or heavy experience in maybe building big software or hardware or whatever it can be. It's probably limited experience that we're expecting.
Right. No, I understand. It's more like the behavioral side of things, that if they are given a specific role and then how they are supposed to deal with it, probably those kind of questions that would be asked, related to teamwork, organization, management skills, learning abilities, those kind, right?
Exactly.
Right. So another question. Now you have worked in India and Ireland. How the CVs are in both countries. Have you seen any change? What's the difference in the CV making? How should students change it related to their Irish job market?
Okay. So I think I mentioned about what changes I made, right? Removing the personal details part, and also kind of changing your impact sentences of what you have done in your previous company to what role you're probably looking for. So considering those 2 points in mind, I mean, you should also think about what you need to put in the CV. If you're probably somebody who has about, say, 2 or 3 years of experience, you have enough in your history or experience to just keep it professional. I mean, if it's somebody who is coming solely from an academic experience, say, who doesn't have any industrial experience, then for that person, probably having something like hobbies or probably winning medals or captaining teams would be something important in a CV, because captaining a team shows the recruiter that although this person did not have any industrial experience, he was able to captain and lead probably like a football team or a cricket team or whatever it can be from the front, and that shows his leadership skills. So this can become an important aspect for a person who doesn't have any experience. But when people, I do see a lot of CVs, right, where people with like 5 years of experience come in, and they have like a full section talking about these different
Right,
hobbies and all that.
right, right.
I mean, it's nice to have. I mean, it's
Yeah.
nice to obviously know what you're interested in, but you're obviously wasting real estate space on your CV, right?
Mhm.
Instead, if you talk about projects, then even before you walk into an interview with me, I can have a look at what the project is about and start asking you direct questions about it. So this is something that I have learned by interviewing people myself over the past 2 years. And it's extremely important to talk about the real projects that you've worked on. That's what's going to get you inside a company. That's what's going to make your CV stand out from anybody else.
All right.
Yeah, so that's the process.
Thank you so much, Vikas. Another question: what about the work-life balance in Dublin?
So in India, I come from Bangalore, right? And Bangalore is a place that has a lot of traffic. I mean, probably the second most dense traffic in the
Yeah,
country.
it might be the first, I think now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. So when I used to work, my office was probably about 28 kilometers from where I
Oh my
used to live,
God.
and it was really hectic. And I had to
Mhm.
leave home at 7 a.m. to get into the office at 9 a.m. And we used to have office buses that had to leave at 5 p.m. and then we would come back at like 8 p.m. So the thing is, the distance was never considered as a part of my job. But when it came to work, my manager obviously sometimes expected me to stretch, and unfortunately I couldn't really stretch because my place was so far away and it was so difficult. But at the same time, why I'm trying to give you this example is not because of the traffic. Obviously, it's because there is an expectation for my manager to stay in the office for a longer duration. So I just felt that in at least the team that I worked with, there was more of an expectation of you staying in the office rather than you producing work at the same, when you're spending that amount of time. But when I kind of compare it to Optum is, probably it's probably been a completely different experience for me, right? There's no expectation of I need to come in at 9 and I need to leave at 5. There's no expectation of I need to clock 8 hours in my office. As long as I'm getting my job done, nobody's going to say anything.
Right, right.
So I think I'm quite fortunate to be in that case, wherein my managers in the US, my reporting manager, there's no micromanagement per se in my team. So we have a lot of flexibility. If we think that half day of work is enough for today, then we'll do half day. But some days, if we feel we need to put in 12 hours in there, we'll make sure that we'll put it and get the job done.
Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah.
My last question would be, how is the, I think that are you in Bangalore right now at present?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so working from home then.
Yeah, so I came to India on Feb 21st for a
All
holiday,
right.
and
Okay.
I stayed here for my plan was to stay here for a month. Well, COVID-19 when I came here was not in the radar,
I
wherein it would
understand.
become a
Right,
global
right,
pandemic.
right.
Although it was declared, I think, by then. But I expected my return flight to be okay, but then they canceled last moment, saying this is they just stopped all flights. And since then I've been stuck here. But again, because so much of my work depends on my team in the US, like everything that we do is virtual work. So uh, in that sense, my manager was very helpful. She said that I can work from home for however long I want, because obviously we're a health company first. So yeah, my manager was pretty uh, probably strict about you keep safe, and then we'll think about
Of
work.
course. No, that's most important, right? And how is the
Yeah.
government helping people in this situation? Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, so I know a couple of things. Well, in my perspective, I'm getting a 60 euro allowance every month,
Mm-hmm.
because the government, I think, is offering this to everybody who's working full time and who are working from home. So this is a remuneration for your electricity bill and your internet bill, and
Right.
this is purely for that. That is how the government is supporting full-time working professionals. But when it comes to people who have probably lost jobs, the government
Mhm.
has set up funds in place for them as well, wherein if you're a taxpayer and then you've probably lost job because of COVID-19, because obviously so many businesses have shut down, then you will get probably about 200 or 300 euros
Right.
every week to support your
Mhm.
rent and food.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Vikas. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining. I would end this discussion here. And if students have any questions with you, how do you suggest that they get in touch with you? Can you please share your maybe contact details or your LinkedIn ID, if that's okay?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So I'm on the Facebook UCD South Asia group, right?
All right.
So they can find my Facebook profile there, or if they want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's Vikas Prasanna on LinkedIn.
All right. Thank you so much, Vikas. Thank you for joining. Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vinny. Thanks for the opportunity. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.